Hey folks, this is Mike Tango Whiskey coming at you with another Hurt Feelings Report, episode 19. In the Hurt Feelings Report, what I do is I look at the comments from the previous week's videos on my channel, and I highlight and respond to the very best insights and the very best insults, okay? So, what videos did I put out on my channel over the past week? Going back, it looks like I did my Vertex Ready Pack review, my EDC bag, that new Vertex pack that I got. I did a firearms video, but not an actual firearms video. I did a firearms video with no firearms in it. So I talked a little bit about a strategy for collecting and starting to buy firearms. I did a shield spill where I showed kind of the stuff I've collected over the past week or so. And I just released today a follow-up video to the snap video that I did prepping for November 1st. So I did a follow-up video to that, which was kind of a mistake. I released it early this morning, and now the comments are flooding into that video, so I'm having to play catch-up for the Hurt Feelings Report. If I was smart, I would have waited until after the Hurt Feelings. Anyway, I'm not that smart. So let's jump right in. I'm going to go from the top to the bottom, and what I do is I put a heart next to the comments that I feel are worthy of the HFR. Let me start by doing this too. So there were some comments there were so many comments on certain topics that I'm not going to go through and read all of those, but I'm going to respond to them right up front. So I wrote them down. First of all, in my situational awareness video, I misquoted. I said I quoted a general, a military general, and he said, "Be polite, be professional, have a plan to kill everybody you meet." I love that quote. I think I said, I was kind of guessing out loud. I said, Petraeus? And I got 50 Marines in my comments. It's General Mattis. It's Mad Dog Mattis. Okay, calm down, you freaking leathernecks, okay? Just chill out. It's General Mattis said that quote. It's an awesome quote. He's an amazing man. Thank you for that correction. I also got a bunch of corrections on Jeff Cooper. So I used Jeff Cooper's situational awareness color code guide. And people were like, how do you not know who Jeff Cooper is? Jeff Cooper is a iconic legend in the self-defense. Okay, I'm very, very sorry to have offended thee. Jeff Cooper was an amazing self-defense guy. He was a military guy. He wrote a bunch of books. He came up with the 4 rules of firearm safety. That book that he wrote on personal defense is like one of the quintessential, but he's amazing. He's awesome. And I'm truly, deeply saddened that I didn't know all of his accolades, okay? LDS manual, I'm still getting a lot of Mormons correcting me that the LDS Preppers Manual, the Preparedness Manual, is not an official book of the church. I clarify that in a video that's coming out Monday where I review the updated version of that manual. Also, this freaking hatchet, okay? Can we be done with this already? Please, can we be done with this? So I showed it how I refurbished this axe, and there was a crack in the handle, and I joked, I'm never going to use it. It's going to hang there with the rest of these hatchets, and everybody's like, please fix it, please fix it, please fix it. It's worthy of a repair. It's just, it's some cheap hatchet. You know how you can tell not an old hatchet? It'll be stamped on there, safety goggles required. That's a requirement that they had put on a lot of metal tools. I think it was late 70s or 80s. So you can date your hatchet or your axe by that stamp on there. And China was making hatchet heads and axe heads by that time as well. So this is a cool little axe. I paid $3 for it, but it's I fixed it. Okay, I put dowels in it. I glued dowels down in here, and then I wrapped it with tape. Okay, it's fit. Can we please let this go? Can we stop talking about this, please? Now people are going to talk about it even more, which I just realized. Also, I previously broke up with a flashlight company called Rovivon because they kept bugging me about my videos. Well, it happened again. I broke up this week with a second flashlight company, Olight. So when somebody sends me something free, sometimes their varying demands. Some people send you a contract to sign, and they're like, we want exclusive rights, and we want a 30-minute video of all the... Generally, I don't sign those. I don't agree to those contracts. What I want to do is I want to get the free stuff and then I want to organically work it into my videos. I want to take a look at it, give you my opinion, drop a link if they're giving you a discount. But when a company starts to get on my nerves and starts to like bug me and start to push at me, kick rocks. I'm done. Okay. So I broke up with Olight, and it wasn't even that egregious, but they sent me the little Baton 4, and I included the Baton 4 video flashlight as part of a bunch of other videos, a bunch of other flashlights. So there were other flashlights in this video. I reviewed like 4 or 5 and it was positive. I love I truly like that flashlight. I told a great story about an old Baton that I had. Well, that wasn't good enough. So they responded and they were like, hey, we're going to send you another flashlight, but I talked to my supervisor and your video did not meet our standards. We want a dedicated video, X number of minutes, this. Kick rocks. Don't send me any more flashlights, Olight. I like your flashlights, and it's unfortunate that you felt necessary to kind of poke at me a little bit, but you can kick rocks. You don't control my videos or my channel, so I don't know what to tell you. All right, moving on. Also, I released this week, these are complete. This is the prototype. It's finished for the 68%er. This is the sole sticker that I'm going to fall on producing. So I had some other stickers in the works and like Turd on the Carpet and other things, but it was too many and some of them required explaining. And so I think that this is the message that I want to do. So I'm going to have these reproduced in a better quality material and better ink and everything. And I'm going to find a way to start selling these, but I got a stack of those too. Okay, so let's jump right into the comments. Let's search for some hearts. All right, this is in response to my Snap update video. I'm going to call it the new Snap video. Mahoney 350, one of my regular 530, one of my regular commenters, he says, I came here for the dopamine rush, but you tricked me with logic like a trickster prepper. I'm so disappointed. I said, well, it was more of a bait and switch, really, but yeah. Sorry, man. I didn't mean to disappoint you. I hate disappointing my regular viewers. You came here for the dopamine. Someone else, same Snap video, said, live a life that is worth preserving in SHTF. Yes. So in that video, I talk about prepping in general. Like what good does it do if we just live the next waiting, if we're miserable bastards waiting for something terrible to happen, and then I love this. Live a life worth living. Live a life that's worth preserving in SHTF. Yes, that is great. That belongs on a t-shirt, probably. I do like that. Hope for the best. So same one. So I talk about prepping. Is prepping worth it? Is it fear-based? It's kind of both. Do we prepare for the maybes? But this K4K253 says, hope for the best, be ready for the worst. I thought about that after I shot that video. I should have included some of those very true kind of paradoxes, right? It's pray like everything depends on God, and work like everything depends on you, right? So it's hope for the best, prepare for the worst, right? Yes, it is a paradox. Prepping is a paradox, and we have to be balanced so that it doesn't take over our brains. This is really great. So Lunar Minx, same video, gave us some stats on Snap. And I think this is valuable too. So there was a lot of fear mongering going on about, even in some of my comments, people are like, these EBT zombies, and I don't think most people have a real understanding of who is actually on Snap. I know that those people exist, and there were people taking to social media saying, we're going to do that. That happened. But listen, this is great. About 12% of Americans, over 41 million people, receive Snap. Roughly half of those households with children have an earned income. So in other words, they have jobs. 86% of working age non-disabled adults work at some point during the year that they receive SNAP. Around 20% of recipients are seniors, and 10% are non-elderly adults with disabilities. Nearly 4 out of 5 households include a child, senior, or disabled person. Almost 2% of active duty military households receive SNAP. Yeah, when I was in the Air Force, and I was not quite towards the end of my career, but the first maybe 10 or 15 years, maybe even towards the end, I got WIC. We had a lot of kids, and we got WIC, and it was milk, and it was vegetables, and it was cheese, and it was yogurt, and then they gave us checks for the farmer's market, in the summer, and that helped. Like, it was $100. It was about $120 worth of groceries every month. It was good. It was good. I received SNAP benefits. I did. So I certainly hope that my video didn't make people think that I was saying that, you know, these are all like zombie monsters going to raid. And no, that's not accurate. I said, thank you for these numbers and this perspective. That helps, right? If we're talking about a group, whatever that conversation is, we should have accurate information. So thank you for that. This is a great one too. Hallard069, same video, says the snackpocalypse felt like Y2K all over again. Yeah, for those of you that were around for Y2K, Y2K was going to be the end of modern civilization. It's one of the big lessons. I'm surprised more people don't talk about it, but that's a great example of nothing happening. I mean, zero. I remember hearing that there was like one company who had like a server that went down or something, but all the computers, when the clock flipped all zero for the year 2000, if I remember correctly, like the computers were not hardwired to accept that date, so it was going to revert back to like 00 AD or something. All the computers were going to crash all at once everywhere. That would have been a true SHTF. Even in 2000, it would have been pretty significant. But it didn't. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. There were a lot of preppers, you know, in the prepping sphere, when we start getting into predicting and making predictions, I think that's where we end up on dangerous ground. Or we're using fear to scare people into dates and times. Civi Prep, Civilian Preparedness, said something about that too. We get into trouble when we start picking dates, right? It reminds me of some of these kind of spin-off religions of the Pentecostal age in the early 1900s, where they're like predicting the day and time Christ is coming back, even though scripture says no man will know the day or the hour, right? But that doesn't stop people from writing books. 86 reasons Jesus is coming back in 86, right? And then they have to scramble afterwards. They're like, well, it wasn't a physical return. It was like a spiritual, thoughtful return. So we have to be careful as preppers, right? We prep for the maybes, but none of us have a crystal ball. And most of us are making educated guesses, or most of the time uneducated guesses. Let's be real about that. That's what's, you know, and that's still okay. I think we still can guess. That's okay. What am I doing here? Am I off? I'm off. Oh my gosh. Newest and okay. I was in one video there. I will say, same video, I will say you seem over prepared wearing all them clothes. You have 3 layers on. Turn up the heat, brother. Great message. I prepare, but live life too. Someone said, thank you, Catherine. Catherine defended me. That's Adirondack Transplant. Catherine Cadwallader says, I think he's in the garage. No central heat. How dare you, sir? It's called style. So let me educate you cretins out there, okay? So when it comes to men's style, I spent about 5 years getting into men's dress, like men's style. So I have all those clothes. Like I can polish up like a nice penny. But really, this, first of all, I love layering. That's why I love fall and winter. But this, the collar of the shirt and this kind of projection here is what frames the face. This is the most important thing when it comes to what men wear, okay? And then the beard helps, but like I have a short chin and a narrow chin, so it looks really weak when I'm shaved. But also what this helps do is it helps elongate lines. And the longer someone's face is, they've done studies on it, it promotes trust and it promotes confidence in that person. So the longer, that's why taller hats were popular, because it tend to elongate lines. So the beard and this framing of my face makes me more trustworthy. All right, back to prepping. Layers, 3 layers. Yeah, I've got 3 layers on, look, and it looks dope, okay? How dare you? I'm just kidding. I know you're a regular viewer. Getting ready for hard times. Funny story. So this is an interesting one. So I feel like this comment may have been on the protest thing, but I did talk about it in the hard times video too. So Grandpa 7278 says, funny story. My son-in-law protested a drag queen dancing thing at the local library. Antifa followed him home. My daughter's family lives with me on a farm where I was born, by the way. She was pregnant with a 2nd grandchild. After a few months, we were visited, broken windows, letters to the neighbors calling us Nazis. Finally, a doorstepped baby gift. daughter gave birth, they let us know that they knew. Funny part, due to the letters everyone thinks we're dangerous Nazis. One letter showed his son holding a knife, or a son holding a knife. I love that everyone thinks we're dangerous. That could be kind of a deterrent. By the way, the baby gift was an infant onesie with a threat embroidered on the onesie. So my advice about crowds is to stay away from them. I think that's a good rule of prepping. You avoid mobs of people who are upset about things, regardless of who they are, what they look like, or what they're upset about. I'm not going to be there. Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty crazy story. Oh, he says, after the baby onesie, I spent a year sitting in my car all night with my 9mm on my lap on guard. By the way, totally ruined the interior of my retirement car. Laugh out loud, chain smoking. Yeah. That's a crazy story. All right. In response to Prepper Bugout Fantasy, one of my older videos, Carol Adams 3193 says, I would have never guessed that a ginger would be the voice of reason on YouTube. What? You know, it's funny. I never, before I grew, I've had red hair all my life, and I started losing my hair and I grew my beard out, but I've never really thought about myself as a ginger until a couple of years ago, but it's obvious I am. But are gingers not thought to be, I know we're not supposed to have souls, but are we also not supposed to be the voice of reason? We're supposed to be unreasonable and emotional? How dare you? Okay, one of my members, Airborne, I gotta get this right too. Airborne Veteran. I'm just gonna call you Airborne Veteran. You know, because of you, I'm now stripping and sanding and re-oiling all of the wooden handles on my mini sledgehammer, carpenters, hammers, roofing hammers, axe handles, which I never thought to do. Well, you're welcome, sir. There's nothing funner than sanding and reconditioning and re-oiling handles. Look at that, just beautiful. Even on this garbage axe, garbage hatchet. I said, sorry, not sorry. He posted a pic. I gotta go look at that pic, but. So my firearms video, I thought, Mark Lawrence 2274 says, I thought I was watching Zach Galifianakis for a solid 5 minutes. How dare you? Is that the second time I've heard Zach isn't he fat? I'm not fat. Okay, well, I have about 15 pounds to lose, but I'm not fat. Okay, I'm 5'9", 200 pounds. I should be 185. Zach, he's funny. I like Zach Galifianakis, whatever his name is. Okay, my response to Hard Times video, someone says, the collapse is purposeful. The state, oh my gosh, did I respond? No, I didn't respond to that. I'm not reading that comment. Where did it go? I didn't respond to that. Okay, good. Oh, shoot. The responses were stacked together. I was like, did I put a thumbs up on that? No. If your comment is terrible and like goes off into territory that I don't want to be in, I won't put a thumbs up. Someone said Yukon Cornelius was the first open character on the big screen. I was like, oh, open. I'm pretty sure they're saying that Yukon Cornelius was gay. So, which I responded, I said, how dare you? So I had to research this. I had to research whether Yukon Cornelius. So he's got about 10 minutes of total time in the Rudolph the Reindeer movie. And at first my response was, well, crap, I'm not gay, so I don't want to hang a character in the background that is gay if I'm, right? There's 10 minutes of video on Yukon Cornelius, and it's at best ambiguous because I read an article and they said, well, they never mentioned anything about a romantic partner. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't automatically mean that I think some groups have just kind of taken him as a hero type, but who knows? Now that I've said this, people are going to jump in the comments and be like, it's a fact actually, because I don't know, he seemed pretty hetero to me, but I'm no expert in this area, so just how dare you? I thought that was hilarious though. It caught me off guard. I was like, it made me stop and do research. So Okay, this is a good one. So in the firearms video, I talked about having multiple weapons of the same type and model. And I think I gave an example that, so you have two guns, one gun breaks, now you have parts for the other gun. And you could take those parts and put them in the, and a couple people, I think two people rightly said, no, that doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about? So you have one gun that works, one gun that doesn't. This one breaks, and you're going to take parts from this one and put them in the broken gun and put them. That's stupid. You still have one gun that works. You're going to use that one. Yeah, I made a mistake. So I think what I was thinking about was like when you have a car and then you have a parts car in the driveway, and when something breaks on this one, you could use parts from that one. I still think it kind of rings true for accessories. So think about lights. Think about the slide maybe, or the holsters. So you have other options available to you. If both guns go down, then you might have enough parts to fix, right? And I know that I have had parts especially in ARs, break, where I mix and match. I am constantly moving parts and accessories around on these rifles. Sometimes things break, so those get set to the wayside, and I still have a number of functional weapons. So, okay. Sorry about that. You would need at least 3. So he says, it doesn't make any sense to have 2 pistols that are the same. So you can switch parts out and fix one of them if one malfunctions. You would need at least 3 for that to even start making sense. And even then, you'd only have a maximum of 2 working if one died and needed parts from another. Okay. Yep, you're right. My sincerest apologies. Also, how dare you? Okay. So Marcus Andrews on my EDC bag. I was thinking about this, and I actually did it this time. I always take feedback and try and incorporate it. He says, bro, you don't have to start every video by saying, coming at you with another video. The fact that we're watching your video is confirmation enough that you are, in fact, coming at us with another video. He says, keep up the good work. So look, I think I've said that in every video. So in my mind, I guess it was just a catchy thing to say. But you know what you made me do? You made me go watch YouTube videos on better YouTube intros. How dare you? So I said it's kind of become my thing. Any other suggestions? So he gives me some other suggestions. No intro required. So for instance, in this videos, I go, hey folks, this is Mike Tango Whiskey. Usually I would say, coming at you with another video, this time about blah, blah, blah. He goes, the fact that we're watching, in fact, confirms that you are, in fact, coming out with it. So I think I started this one, if I did it right. Hey, folks, this is Mike Tango Whiskey, coming at you with a Hurt Feelings Report, episode 19. So maybe coming at you needs to go. I don't know. What do you guys think? This is Mike Tango Whiskey. Welcome to the Hurt Feelings Report, episode 19. That might be a stronger intro, right? This is Mike Tango Whiskey. Welcome to, I don't know. We'll work on it. You've got me thinking, so I appreciate that, kind of. Yeah. That's how feedback is, man. You're like, how dare you? And then you're like, oh, that's probably true. Audience, that you're a well-known pro. People will know who you are. Just no intro required. Just getting right into the video is always the best suggestion. Well, jumping straight into content. So I watched a couple videos on good intros, and there's ways to do it. So you don't just start the video and start with, today we're going to talk about firearms, and then blah, blah, blah. You know, there's ways to do effective intros. So I will work on that, Marcus Andrews. So thank you for your feedback, sir. Mark's Adventures says, I like the hammer and the axe and the water bottle. I don't need a felt character as I'm no longer 5. Mark, how dare you? So this is, look, I'm not into felt characters. I appreciate dad advice like this. Like, I don't play video games. I don't collect stuffed animals. Like, I'm 50. I'm a grown behind man, right? But I think that was kind of a cool thing for the audience to see. They compared me to him. I like indulging in nicknames. And there's kind of another aspect to it too. We have this conversation often at work, and especially in the military. When it comes to nicknames, you don't get to, here's a rule for nicknames. You do not get to choose your own nickname. That's like, I'm going to be known as T-Bone. No, you're not T-Bone. When I was in the desert, I had a guy a mechanic who came over and brought me this bracket that he needed me to fabricate. And I was working on something else, and I ran a body shop. So I was a fabricator this is in Saudi Arabia. So he brings me over this part, and I tell him to come back at 9 o'clock. So he brings me the part back, never says anything. I fix the part. Like 4 days later, I heard somebody refer to me as the banker. And I said, what'd you call me? The what? He said, the banker. I said, why am I the banker? And he goes, because you have banker's hours. You don't open till 9 o'clock. Now, so that's how it goes. You don't get to choose your own nickname. You don't get to decide what you're called. So my audience decided that I look like this guy. I kind of have to run with it. You got to embrace it. I can't be like, no. I prefer to be known as the Punisher or, something cooler. It doesn't work that way. Unless he is in fact gay, then I probably won't leave him back there because I'm not gay. So, but other than that, you kind of have to roll with it. You have to embrace it. One guy says, dang, you get up early. No, I record my videos all like on a 2-day period over the weekend, like Friday and Saturday. As much recording as I can on the weekend. And then I schedule them to post at 2 a.m., usually like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, something like that. I don't know. People have said they like waking up and seeing a new video of mine available to them in the morning. So they use it as a morning drive to work, or that's why I do it. I'm not up at 2 o'clock every day. My wife I used to be, but she gets mad at me. I sincerely don't understand the idea of having a parts gun. If you have 2 guns and one goes down, you still have 1 gun left that works. I'm responding to you, sir, Ponce de Leon. Ponce de Leon, yeah. What am I missing? You're missing that I made a mistake. That's what you're missing. My hard times video, Melissa Burgett says, I'm a single mom of 3 kids who lives on 60 acres in North Idaho. Love my guns and my dogs, but damn, I'm scared not having a husband with me in times like these. It's true. I'm truly scared, and being alone is awful. Yeah. I responded, I said, I feel this. Thanks for the comment. Being alone does suck. Like, it does suck. Yeah, I feel like we need to, civilian preparedness, we're working on finding him a wife. I feel like, Melissa, you should come into our lives. I usually do a live on Sunday night. Maybe we can find you a like-minded husband or something, if you're in the market. I don't want to tell you that you need a husband, but being alone sucks. It's better having someone, right? So, yeah, Melissa Burgett, come to the lives on Sunday night. We'll try and get you hooked up with a prepper, maybe civilian prep. He's a younger guy though, if you're okay with that. I did a gun video, so the firearms video, just discussion, no firearms in the video, right? The original OSOC says, well, now you've effed up. Doing a gun video is a guaranteed way to get a shadow ban if you haven't already. Now, I'm settling in to watch. I'm a gun nut and a prepper, so this is probably not going to be all that helpful for me, but it's important to spread the word because many fine folks don't know the information that you're presenting here. So I wondered about that. So YouTube has a thing where you have to click if the video is about gun content, showing or discussing guns. So I don't know. The video's doing well. I don't feel like it got shadow banned. I'm not even sure I would know that. I thought there was a couple days where I was shadow banned, but I don't know. I just had videos that kind of sucked that time. Didn't do that well. This is Hard Times video. America has got 1 to 2 years left, and it's not just going to be a worldwide depression. It's not just you. It's going to be a worldwide depression worse than 1929. Way worse, 2 exclamation points. But you will feel it most as you are the current world empire. Yours will be way worse because of moral decline and the fact that you are all armed to the teeth. When the food runs out after 9 days of madness, they say. Good luck, everyone. Thanks, Toby Murray Moore. I'm assuming you're overseas somewhere. Yeah. Global collapse. Will America be the worst one? I have no idea. I don't know. We do have a lot more guns. Yeah, I don't know. That's a scary thought, actually. How dare you? Doomsday Queen gives me some applause for my firearms video. Thank you, ma'am. We still need to collab. Maybe I'm just going to do a response video to one of your videos. I thought about that. Like, we talked about collabing. And I went through a lot of your videos looking for one to respond to that I genuinely disagreed with. And I couldn't find one. So it's going to be hard. It might be more, I don't know, we'll have to figure something out. I felt silly though. It's like, I'm not going to pretend to not like something she says, but R. Campbell 4967 in response to the firearms video says, hey, I'm commenting not to correct or criticize, just to give some additional advice. He's been prepping for decades. He has a couple points in here. It's kind of long. The best firearm in SHTF is the one you already own. That's true. Mike's comments on common platforms is spot on. Number 3, firearms are fun. They're cool, but they won't feed you unless you rob somebody for food, which is unethical. Number 4, so this is the one I wanted to highlight. One thing I don't believe I've ever seen discussed is the ethics of legitimately defending yourself from 500 yards. I would argue that a threat from that distance is not a threat, and treating it like one isn't ethical. If you agree, a rifle dedicated for distance shooting isn't necessary and not worth spending money on. I coach new firearm owners who are intimidated. So this is a great point, and this is, so my firearms video, my recommendation, my first purchase recommendation to 68%ers was a pistol. And I got several comments that were like, a pistol first? Are you kidding? It's a rifle first. Rifle is a primary weapon, pistol is a backup. Now, where do we get that logic? Where do we get that notion from? We get that idea from the military, okay? We get that idea from the military. And we think that that's the way we should prepare and arm ourselves and train and equip and all that stuff. I don't agree with that. I don't think for the civilian, for the 68%er in a TOTC situation, turd on the carpet, or an SHTF, that the rifle is going to be your primary weapon. I don't think so. I disagree with that. A more apt comparison, in my opinion, would be a cop. So cops tend to deal in more close range. But what's the primary weapon for a cop? The primary weapon is a pistol. The backup weapon is a rifle. I think that's more of a useful paradigm for us. And the reason I recommended a pistol, and people are like, pistols are harder to master, they're harder to shoot, it's harder to be accurate. I know all of that. But just because something is harder to get good at doesn't mean it's not more useful, okay? I think pistols are more useful because they can serve so many different roles. Like right now, I'll just give you one example in my state, which has dumb laws, but there's a law you cannot carry a loaded rifle in a vehicle, ever. It has to be unloaded and separated from ammunition. Now, a pistol, as long as you're licensed to do so, you can carry it concealed or in your car, hidden from sight, loaded, if you're licensed. That's an advantage to me. I think that's an advantage. And I think that's more of an advantage than me having a rifle, like, in your car, on your person, in your car, your place of work, if you're allowed to carry one, your place of business, at home. I just think pistols are more, they're smaller, they're lighter, they are easier to transport, they're easier to conceal, legally, of course. I think there are more advantages there for those of us who live in the suburbs and work in the city or live in the city. I think pistols are the way to go. That's why that was my recommendation. And I know that goes contrary to what traditionally we say in the prepper space. Your rifle's your primary and your pistol's your backup. When? When is that going to be the case for us? When we're uniformed infantry that's been rolled up into some larger unit? When is that going to happen? I don't agree with that. So I agree with what this guy's saying. R. Campbell 4967. Really great point. Thank you for that. He also says prepping is not a marathon. It's a marathon. It's not a race. Yeah, this guy's got a lot of great points. It's too many for me to post on here. The last one he says, though, I believe SHTF is not likely going to happen in my lifetime. I look at my preps as an investment and an insurance policy. I'll eventually eat all the food that I buy. I will eventually shoot all of the ammo that I own. I'll eventually use 99% of my preps just living in life. I shy away from preps that are just preps and have little or no value in my life. That's great. Great comment. Yeah, when are we going to be taking shots from 500 yards? Way down the road, maybe. I mean, have that too, but I think for us now, especially during TOTC, I think the pistol is the advantage. A lot of people commenting on that video, like what their preferred weapons would be. A couple of people are like, what? No shotgun? No 10/22? Now, I have gone into plenty of other areas. This was just a video. The focus of that video was on my opinion and my recommendations to people either just starting or just getting into it, and give them some food for thought. Certainly not. I went on a live last week with Tactical Muffin Top, great name by the way, his channel, and a couple other dudes he had on there who are great preppers. They're doing some really cool stuff with like horticulture and animal husbandry. But he has what he calls the Golden 5. So it's like an AR, or it's like a long rifle, a pistol, a 10/22, a shotgun. I forget the last one, but so everybody has like their favorite ones, and traditionally it's shotgun, 12 gauge shotgun, some sort of 22 because it's cheap and you can plink with it and you can take down small game, a pistol, you know, as a sidearm, and then a rifle for longer range, and then like a 308, something to reach out long, you know, further. Yeah, that's the traditional advice. I get that. I understand that, and I have basically followed that in my own preps as well. This guy says, I carried a rifle. So Chris Sullins says, I carried a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol on my person during a brief time in deployment. With ammo for all three, body armor, and a pack, it was too much to carry for long days on little sleep and given harsh environmental conditions. So this is real life experience. You will eventually settle on carrying one, sometimes two firearms. That's true, right? My grandpa gave me, this is on the Prepper Friends video, Gary Schwartzel. My grandpa gave me sound advice as a young man. He told me there's no such thing as friends as an adult. In your adult life, you only have acquaintances. Even your ride or die friend may go through life changes that shifts his value system. While he may not betray you, he may grow apart from your circle of life. It's kind of depressing, but probably true. I still think as adults we have friends. It's just those friends, people may come and go from your circle, right? It's not like you get one and that's it and it's set forever. That's certainly not true. Listen to this. So who gets in? I talked about courage. I just happened to be watching this right before I needed to talk to my boss. And man, that speech about courage was a gut punch I deserved. I've been putting it off all morning, but that made me say I would have danced around. But that made me say what I would have danced around. Nice work. That's really cool that my video did that for you. Thank you. This guy says, Gary Schwartzwell again, I'm a den leader for a scout pack. Any of those compasses would work. We could use them for training. Clear up the camera shot if you donate it to the pack. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm all for giving. Well, no, I'm not actually. I'm keeping those. So go buy your own compass. These are hanging for shame for the rest of time. In my firearms video, this guy says, I have at least 100 to 110 pistols. Holy crap. And so are carried concealed pistols. I have 10 holsters that interchange with all 50 of my carry guns. So you don't need a holster for every gun. Most holsters fit every gun. Dang. Firearms video. This is Mallory Faye. This is very informational and educational. Could you please do many more follow-up talks on this? So, like I said, it's not primarily a firearms channel. I may do a couple follow-up videos to that one. Like, okay, you've started with this and you have more money, more time. You want to get, you know, what would I recommend next? I might do that. I think everyone should have a Ruger 10/22, a 12 gauge shotgun, an AR, and then a 9mm. Yeah, that's kind of been the recommendation, right? My last EDC bag. So my EDC bag, I talked about riding the bus to work. This guy says, the grid is down, the Celtic barbarian. He says, the grid is down. You can't hop in your car to get to your kids. You're riding the bus. Never listening to this again. That's my thumbnail. Never listening to this again. My hands are so cold I can't write. And I said, you won't watch my channel because I ride the bus? That's a new one. Also, tourists around here end up in the hurt feelings report. Celtic barbarian. Yeah, I ride the bus to work, but my wife and my vehicles are also about 6 blocks from where I work. So I ride the bus to work pre-dawn, and then when I'm off work, I walk, I go to my wife and get the vehicle, and I have access to my family and my vehicle. Watch the whole video, bro. He's like, you read the bus? I'm not watching this garbage. Are you ready for hard times? My opening, I love you like, my hatchet. You're telling me you won't take the time to rehandle that hatchet? All handles eventually break. While yes, the time spent finishing it is wasted, but your rehandling is an essential skill. You see that? Stop telling me to rehandle stuff. I've got 500 rehandling projects that I've expertly done. Watch my axe videos. This is gonna be, I'm gonna start smashing stuff with that axe. Firearms video, my state is an open carry state, not gonna get a license, as that is just another way for the government to track me. No thanks. Also, all caps, in my opinion, none of us require the government's permission to carry a firearm. 2A all day. I got a few of those. They said grown men don't ask permission. Yeah, I get that. But part of me too, trying to be a common sense, prudent prepper, if I'm prepping and I'm taking all this time to, collect resources and train and do all of the stuff with my family and all the things and get them ready for X, Y, and Z, and then I go to jail for $60, I think that's stupid. I think that's stupid. Now, I could do a video on law enforcement. I probably should. I do my best to avoid law enforcement. Just because, not because I'm a lawbreaker, but just because, I don't know. It's kind of like introducing deadly force to a situation. Things tend to escalate very quickly, especially when there's a firearm involved. So, I do not want some silly clerical error to neutralize my ability to provide, protect, and prepare my family. I understand what you're saying, and I agree with that notion. But we got to be smart, man. We got to be smart. Okay, firearms video. Todd Sickinger 3934. OMG, how are shotguns not part of your firearms video? Home defense, hunting, ease of use, available of ammo, variety, versatility, getting 8, 9, 1022, valuable tool, just another 68er's humble opinion. 100% agree with the 556 choices, good video. Better with demos of actual firearms at the range. Not doing that. Yes. But again, I explained that earlier, right? I think for the people, the 83% who live in the suburbs or the city centers, I think we can't walk around with rifles right now. Maybe post-collapse SHTF, probably, maybe. But right now, it's just, I don't think a rifle is as useful in our everyday situations as a pistol is. I'll double down on that. People yelling at me in all caps. I'm new to this channel of yours. Been a prepper for about 10 years. I'm a retired doctor's assistant, orthopedic. Having two is one and one is none. Stop yelling at me, sir. Okay. Love your regular guy, husband, dad way of talking. My firearms video. No BS tactical high speed stuff. Keep it up, man. Thank you, Zachary Roop. Your regular guy, husband, dad. How dare you? I'd rather you call me based. I'd rather you hate my videos and call me based. Someone says, firearms video, other than building your own AR, this man speaks the truth. For $1,000, you can get a great factory AR. Yeah, this is a good point. So I talked about building an AR in that video. Is building an AR a beginner thing? Probably not. I would agree with his statement that it's probably not a beginner thing to do. But I think it's a valuable thing to do. So maybe your third AR, I would try and build one. I would try to build one. I think understanding the way that weapon functions helps when you are diagnosing issues, with malfunctions or having to do repairs or having to swap parts, I think it's valuable to know what's going on inside of there, right? Hallard069 says, what a fantastic video, the firearms video. Basic info without getting lost in the weeds on specific makes or models. As a longtime survivalist prepper, what a refreshing video to watch. That's what I like to hear. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Firearms video. Personally, I think that the pistol is the worst starting weapon and should be the last. It's the most difficult to master, not only to use, but to use safely. Very easy to miss using a pistol, flagpole, clear the weapon, where it's pointing, etc. I think a small pistol is too easy to become proficient, blah, blah, blah. Pump shotgun can be used for everything. It's easy to, again, I've already kind of expanded on that. I know that's what, like when the Appleseed, when we teach marksmanship, we start with a rifle, okay? But that notion comes from hunting, frontiersmen, and the military. That is not our current situation. I'm not saying don't use a rifle. I'm not saying don't use a rifle. Obviously, I'm saying a rifle's important, but I think for 68%ers, for most people in our modern context, that a pistol is more useful. Okay, I know it requires a little bit of extra time and effort to master. I still think it's better because that's why people are trying to cram, AR pistols like into backpacks. They're trying to give themselves rifle capability on their everyday person, and that it's hard to do. It's hard to do that. Firearms video. I'm not sure if Reaver6666 was being sarcastic or not. Unless you think you're Rambo or you think there's going to be a zombie apocalypse, why are all these idiots playing tactical clown show? Instead of trying to be cool and trendy, why not go back to what our grandfathers are in most of your cases? A lot of those guns and calibers are still around, not to mention, unlike this crap, the original guns were still working, didn't get up. You can defend your home with a 30-30 Winchester, not just some piece of crap garbage. So, I had some people in the comments say that. They're like, the old-timers rifles, like the lever action, 30-30, there's a 45-70, a bunch of people kept mentioning. When I went through SDI, I remember a section on lever guns. And now I don't know this to be true. I do not own a lever gun. I think they're cool. I love them. I like the action. I've shot them. I love to shoot them. But it said that the mechanism for the lever action is more prone to malfunction than some other systems. Okay. Now, compared to what? I don't know. I don't remember. I just remember that standing out to me in class because we talked about the way that the parts functioned and that certain models did better in their design, but a lot of the models had trouble with the lever action because of the way that it chambered the round. So a cowboy gun, going back to the old ways, again, I think for our modern context, not quite as useful. Home defense with a 30-30 Winchester? What are you talking about? Like maybe marauders across the lawn, but at night? Like your front door, a 30-30, I don't know about that. That's the first time I ever heard that. But a lot of people recommending grandpa guns, like the old school guns, which I love. I just don't know if they're as useful in our modern context. Same video, perhaps a little research and a video on an alternative to lethal force, defensive tools, techniques for folks who would rather avoid realities of charges, trial, and lawsuits. Enforcement rule of law has never wavered during SHTF, LA riots, 9/11, Floyd riots, January 6th, Katrina. That's a great point, Paul, 7754. There's never an excuse. There's never been a modern situation, even what most people would call an SHTF, I would call TOTC. There hasn't been one where the cops are just like, okay, it's a free-for-all, it's the purge for the next week. That hasn't happened. So, we think we're going to throw our kid on and do what for what. That's why I think it's more reasonable to plan otherwise. But a lot of folks buy and carry firearms but aren't aware of the increasing legal ramification of using deadly force. I've talked about this. I talked about that in my sling video, especially in large Democrat-run cities or states, right? There are modern, effective, non-lethal weapons on the market that preppers should be made aware of. That's a great suggestion. I may make a video about that. Thank you, Paul. I'm not as versed in those as I am with firearms, but I should be, so I'll have to get smart. I'm not sure if this was sarcastic either, the unchosen one. So from a 96 zillennial to the young bloods who may not believe that this man is saying about buying a handgun first, real life ain't like your video games. You most likely can't bring a rifle around with you everywhere and meet other expectations in life. The best gun is the one you didn't have at home because you needed to dress up for something or couldn't bring a backpack. If you need a rifle, you need to be part of a whole group that will have a spare for you as things are getting exceptionally silly. You don't have those guys and you don't find them, you need a handgun that you can hide and stay alive more than you need a rifle. I don't think he's being sarcastic. I agree with that point. I agree with that. Firearms video, Mr. Firestone, first one, Mr. First 123. Definitely one of your better videos. Can't argue with your logic as well as it was presented. Sorry to hear that you won't be covering this topic anymore. Curiously, I didn't detect any fidgeting in this video on firearms. Did I not fidget in that one? Someone says about the video, I've been into firearms since I was a kid. This is such good advice. I wanted to ask about SDI. There's a lot of controversy around the school and its validity. Could you learn just as much through your own research? I went to SDI because the GI Bill was paying for it. And at the graduation of the course, you get a rifle. You build your own rifle and you get to keep it. So the government bought me a gun. So that's why I went through SDI. I kept all the books. I like the books. Could you get the knowledge from other places? I think you could. I don't even know how much the degree costs outside of, because I wasn't paying for it, so I don't know. But I think you can glean most of that knowledge from YouTube, the internet, and doing your own thing. Standardization was an excellent point. Well done. Priorities. Okay, so someone says, I said value should be one of your priorities. And he says, priorities should not be value. Priority should be effectiveness. If it doesn't do the job, it doesn't matter how good of a deal it was. Hey, I got 50% off this pile of shite. Doesn't matter because it's a pile of shite. So I think, thank you, Woods Ghost 9088. I think you're conflating value with cost. I don't think that those two are the same thing. I think value doesn't mean cheap, okay? Value means getting the most return on the dollars spent. There are some things that are higher value than others, okay? I think $1,000 BCM is a higher value AR. $1,000 BCM, Bravo Company, AR is a better value than a $2,700 Daniel Defense. I don't think that you're getting enough return on each of those dollars spent. So sometimes it means less money, but really what value means is the most bang for your buck. Okay, so I think you're conflating those two. I didn't mean cheap. I would have said cheap. I meant value. I meant high value. Other things I have, I believe, are high value. I'll do another video on that, like prepping for high value. But I absolutely disagree. This is the firearms one, about people needing to get a 9mm as their first and only pistol. Glocks, SIGs, S&Ws are returned, sold back to gun stores in record numbers because they don't have external safeties. New people feel terrified around guns that don't have external manipulated safeties. Revolvers, he recommends revolvers. Okay, yeah, I didn't talk about revolvers. I don't own any revolvers. I don't own pearls. External safeties, I don't know. I felt the same way. When I first started carrying, I was nervous because my firearm did not have an external safety. But I think it made me more vigilant. I think a safety gives people a false sense of security. And I think in the moment that you had to use it, I don't know. I guess you would have to have enough reps to know how to turn that safe. But external safeties, and plus different models and different, they just make me nervous. CCW permit, a free man does not ask permission. And I quoted well, see if you can recognize this quote, put it in the comments. We're not here because we're free, we're here because we're not free. A free man does not ask permission. Well, I guess I'm not free, my friend. You live in the same matrix. Dang it, I gave it away. You live in the same matrix that I do. But I get your notion. I agree with the notion. Firearms for same video. God, you just had to do it, didn't you? You had to bring out all the firearm geniuses in the comment section. So far, my favorite would be We shouldn't give firearms to children. What a deep thought. I knew it would be a can of worms. One of my regular commenters, I'll see if I can find it. He said I wouldn't put firearms in the hands of children. I asked him to elaborate. I hope I clicked that on here. So I would disagree with that. I think if you are a prepper and you own firearms and you have children, I think the key is to remove the mystery. It can't be secret. It can't be hidden. It can't be some fun, cool thing that they never get to see or touch or talk about. It has to become part of your normal routine, okay? They have to respect them. They have to be used to them. They have to know how they work, how to fire them, how to function them. It can't be a mystery. You have to remove the mystery from firearms, and then it just becomes part of life. So how early does that start? I think this is what the guy said too. I won't call him out unless I find the comment. But I think what it is it's important to remove the mystery and determine when that child is old enough. Maturity varies from kid to kid. So it's not always at a certain age, but no children ever. So does that mean like only 18-year-olds? Yeah, I don't know. Someone talked about ammo prices, like 9mm. I recommended 9mm just because it's so common, but they bring up like during COVID that common ammo sold out first, and that is true. 5.56 was hard to find, 9mm was hard to find during COVID. So my recommendation is to have some stocked, right? To have some built up. I still think 9mm is the way to go. Someone in here also recommended 40, but the whole industry has kind of, like I said, the wavelength has collapsed. Everybody has pretty much consolidated around 9mm as the primary. There's pros and cons. This guy said, John Jacobs says, like the ham radio, the first radio should not be a handheld, and in firearms, not a handgun. They both require higher skills. If it truly is a first gun for home defense, a 9mm AR pistol is the best to learn on and use. My wife struggled with the handgun. That's a good point, and it's different for everybody. Again, these are just recommendations, man. I'm just some guy in my garage. But I would disagree with your ham radio thing. 95% of the people that I know that get into radio start with a handheld. So your initial presumption is not entirely accurate. People don't start with a base station. They don't start with a mobile. Nobody starts with a Yaesu. They start with a handheld. 90% of the people that get into radio start with a Baofeng, especially people in the prepper community. So I think Baofengs and pistols are more useful in more scenarios than the long guns. But if you can't shoot them or they're not comfortable, obviously you do something else. This guy suggested 1022. The advice to start with a 9mm seems entirely backwards. More difficult to shoot, involves more responsibility, safely carrying a firearm in public. Again, I think that little extra learning curve is worth it. I still think a pistol is the way to go. This is good advice. Firearms video, guns and radios are expensive. The best prep in the world is money in hand, income producing assets. There's a lot of comments in here. People that upset people for some reason. But income producing assets, I think is a good idea. Cash, ways to make money, alternate ways to make money, not putting all your eggs in one basket. Mahoney 530 says, quick fashion question. Should I wear this Tech 9 with high tops or should I wear my Uzi with low tops? Loke. This is a great question, Loke. My instinct would be to go with the Uzi and the high tops. See what I did there? I switched them. That way you have better shot placement and better ankle support. And if I had to go between a Tech 9 or I haven't checked the price on a Tech 9 and a Uzi. That's classic 90s reference there. It's really good. They're probably super expensive now though. Caliber standardization can backfire when there are ammo shortages. During the pandemic, common calibers were hard to find and expensive. It was almost impossible to find 30-30, 243, and forget about 357 or 38 special. But 270 and 38 super were always on the shelf. Getting an oddball calendar or two after you have your main arsenal set up can't hurt. So again, I would recommend dollar cost averaging, where you're gradually buying ammo to keep, 500, 1,000 rounds of each caliber or whatever. This is true though. So when Obama got elected, when the pandemic hit, during all these crises where everybody goes to buy guns and ammo, the common calibers, they disappear. They disappear from the shelves. And then the weird ones are available. But during normal times, the weird ones are expensive and sometimes hard to find, right? So I still think 9 is the way to go, just for commonality of other platforms. If you do have to scrounge or borrow from somebody else, they're pretty likely to have 9mm. But I do agree with an odd caliber. So here's something you can do. What I've seen a lot of people do is for an AR, they'll get an upper that is chambered in something different than 5.56, right? And sometimes you have to have different magazines to do that, but that couldn't hurt, right? Same platform, same kind of weapon, just a different caliber in case you can't find anything else. That's good advice. But that's a little bit further down the road. That's not really for a first timer. It wouldn't be the first recommendation that I would make to somebody, but 9mm. If you must go with a second caliber, recommend a 12 gauge shotgun. Yep. Great advice. Mark's Adventure. This is it. So I would not, however, put a firearm in the hands of children. So I was like, okay, can you expand on that a little bit? And he goes, I don't think it's an age thing. It's a maturity factor. Hard to call. At 16 as a cadet, I knew how to responsibly handle my firearm. As an Army brat, I was raised among them. My dad used me in classes, weapons training. Yeah. Chad Boss responded to that. He goes, children, good point. Children are better suited for explosives and demolition. Their small size allows them to get into structures where normal size humans cannot. So Mark, that's funny. So what Mark was saying was it's maturity level. I agree with that. Like I wouldn't train a 5-year-old really, you know, they got to be able to handle it and fire it and all that stuff. So, or you can start with 22 calibers, like a lot of people are saying, pistols and 22. You cannot buy more marksmanship, invest in more ammo for training instead of red dots and weapon lights. Learn how to shoot while holding a flashlight, a clip light on your pistol. That's another maintenance checkpoint. Yeah. 9mm pistol, 12 gauge shotgun, AR-15, long rifle 22. In that order, and then go train. Yeah, most people follow that same principle, right? Someone says they burst out laughing when I heard Areola of Trust. Oh, that's the one I forgot. Concrete. Okay, so I think out loud I said, was concrete around 100 years ago? Yeah, I think it was. And people were like, oh, concrete has been around since the Roman Empire. 2,000 years, my friend. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, yep. I'm done thinking out loud on videos. It's just, someone says, great video, great info. I would suggest that you sit down and think about what your end game is with all firearms. Yeah. Quality over quantity is the secret truth to everything as we do as preppers. Gun guys on YouTube exist to suck you down the rabbit hole. One channel I follow posted 3 pistol reviews in a row where he said the exact words, "This is my new EDC gun." Yeah, I won't be getting any firearms sponsors, that's for sure. I don't talk about it enough. Well, hi there says nice. So I go, yep. Definitely good advice for people starting out. The other thing I would, for someone new, is that self-defense, realize your weapon is not a magic talisman. Basic empty-handed weapon retention skills are a must. Yeah, lots of people talked about training. For new pistol owners on a budget, I recommend the PSA. PSA all day, baby. Micro dagger, they're very good for the price. G43, switch to a micro dagger. Yeah, PSA makes some pistols. And a lot of these companies that make these kind of the same looking polymer pistols, they're built on the Glock 3 template. So even the new Ruger XM or whatever it is, a lot of companies make firearms that match that, where the mags work and the grips work and the slides work and all that stuff. So get more training. Before you seek out more weapons, get more training. Skills reps should come after you have sought training. Yeah, that's a good point too. Some official training. Classes, I'm sure a local gun range that is near you has a lot of firearms training or classes that you could go to. Let's see. Shotgun is the most versatile weapon from defense to hunting, everything from small to big game. Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, yeah, just not everywhere. I mean, not day to day at work or in the city. You know, it's going to be hard to do that. Never, never, never ask permission to carry any tool for self-protection, period, ever. Never, never, never buy anything under a 4473 Fedzilla permission slip. Never, period. Never, never, never tell anyone what you have or how many you have, ever, period, all caps. Dude, stop yelling at me. Yeah, again, you know, filling out the paper so the government knows what you have, but that enables you to carry it with you all the time, everywhere, safely and legally. You must live in Montana or Alaska. Alaska, you can do whatever you want. And that's great. I can't do that here. Never, never ask permission. Never, never, never. Someone said, so I had a problem and I immediately thought of you. I had my wife's 2021 Honda Palisade because she needed my truck. I unloaded my work bag, pushed the automatic tailgate button. As it closes, I walked to the driver's side and locked. My keys were in my bag. My first thought was, F, I wish Mike Tango Whiskey worked with me. Long story short, I waited 2 hours and it cost me $220 to open my vehicle. Been a big fan of yours since early sub count, maybe under 1,000. The point is, you have had an influence on me. So carrying entry tools as part of your daily EDC, it's the way to do it, man. I'm telling you, it comes in handy way more often. I'm gonna do a video where I compare a pick to a compass, and I tell people, which one would you choose to carry with you daily? I guarantee 90% are gonna choose the compass. If you know for sure what direction you'll be headed in any evac situation, you could have survival caches along the way. Yep, that was in response to the prepper's manual. I do that. I have videos talking about decentralizing your preps. Well, this is a good one. So this is the getting ready for hard times. And preppers think that moving to the country is the answer. And I think in a lot of ways it is, right? More rural. But listen to this. 7 years ago, I moved out of the city to a homestead in the country. People think this would be a safe environment. Think again. I've had more things stolen from me than when I was in the city. It takes 45 minutes for the county police to get here. Maybe it's kids messing around, but the point is that they breach my fences and come into my property and steal things all the time. I've also noticed more cars driving on my gravel road at night, so I'm always in orange mode. So there's some cons. There's some cons to, you know, living in the city. This is a response to my "you don't need these" video way back when, my second video. Any place the temperature gets below 65 degrees, you need to have a way to make fire. I disagree. If it's in the city and suburbs, I think you can find shelter. My last EDC bag, Mike Tango Whiskey. I would like it to be on record that for a couple of years, I've looked at GoRuck and stayed away. Due to your recommendations and praise, I spent $800 on their sale this weekend. Woo! A couple of packs and pairs of shoes. I said, welcome to the harem, because I'm a GoRuck whore. I'm truly glad that you're here and also very sorry. Also, was there a sale? So I'm looking at, GoRuck's got a sale going on right now. Yeah, people disagreeing with the cook kit. You don't need a cook kit in your get-home bag if you live in the city, but people want to cook, I guess. Preparing to be homeless. Yeah. Let's see. You don't need these. That old video, this guy says, how many times have you bugged out? And how the hell do you know what people need? YouTube expert. I said, how dare you? Also, calm down. That was my second video. Stick around, check out some of my other content. You'll get the gist of my philosophy. I need to, how do you know what people need, you YouTube expert? Oh, that's funny. I am not an expert. Those early videos were to get clicks. I was trying to piss people off, and it kind of worked, I guess. But I've mellowed out since then. Less clicky baity. And there it was. Old school punk sees old school punk. Gauge septum. Being preppers is just our subculture retirement. We also make rad parents, or so the kids tell me. Mrs. E. Yeah, I shoved something through my nose the last hurt feelings report. I have an old hole in my nose that hasn't closed up. I guess I was kind of punk. I was more hip hop than punk, but I see you, Em. I see you. Where do all the people live that you're able to shoot guns before you buy them? Laugh out loud to buy them and then return them. Depreciation law. Yeah. gun shops. A lot of gun shops have a range also, where they let you rent the pistols for an hour and shoot their ammo. And yeah, they exist. Go find one. I highly recommend you do that. If you think you like a pistol or you want one and you haven't shot it, you can do that. Concrete's been around for more than 8,000 years. So thank you. You know what's funny about YouTube is, so I've made these videos and they exist out there forever, and I have no control over when or how people view them. So I'm going to be hearing about General Mattis, concrete, the LDS book, that hatchet for years to come. For years to come, I'm going to be hearing about that. And there's nothing I can do about it. I could delete the video, but I don't really want to do that. The Romans invented concrete. Much of their structure still So this guy, AK Forge, he goes through and corrects me on almost everything I said. So he says the Romans invented concrete. Colonel Jeff Cooper literally created self-defense firearms training industry. He founded Gunside Academy. All of his books are publications. The U.S. Marine Corps general that said, be polite, be professional, have a plan to kill it. That's former SecDef Mattis, aka Salt Call Sign Chaos. So he just goes through, gives me the facts. Yeah, I don't really prep for these videos, man. So the mistakes kind of work out for me, because when I say something stupid, people just correct me in the comments and it generates. I'm just too lazy to do the research. And I talk out loud, so. Just wanted to give you and your wife congratulations on the 8 children. My wife and I are parents of 9. How dare you? How dare you beat me in my own comments? You just had to tell me you had 9 kids. Usually I win that conversation, but I've been in rooms where I was surrounded by 3 guys once where they all had more kids than me. And I was like, good for you. And then I go down the list. I'm like, yeah, but are they all from the same woman? It's petty. I just congratulate them and move on. Let's see. Brother, we need to talk. AK perfect Yukon puffy jacket. Beautiful knit toque. Could be red though. What in the mother loving? Good piece of intel? No, a good piece of intel. Intel would be how and why are we doing all and pick through the nose tricks while I'm drinking coffee? And who is going to clean this mess up? That got me real good, still laughing and crying. And I said, you like that? Also with no commentary to explain it. Yeah, those damn kids in their nose piercings again, scaring the crap out of us elders. That's Carol. Sorry, Carol. Sorry, Carol. You know what's funny? I used to wear a thing in my nose all the time. It was really aggressive looking, but it scared old people. I had grandmas go, oh, please take it out. And I would take it out for grandmas because I felt bad. So I did not type this comment just to feed the algorithm. I deny that completely. Tell the YouTubes don't recommend channel. Oh, talking about AI channels. You can not recommend them. So they were telling me how to do that, which is cool. Okay, I think that pretty much covers it. We're down to the bottom. I'm at an hour and 13. Yeah, I'm gonna stop. So I appreciate you all. Thanks for watching. I got a couple more videos coming out. What do I have coming out soon? My computer's about to die. So I released a snap video today. I have the Prepper's Bible Part 2 coming out Monday. And I'm probably gonna do another bag video. And I may even do a book video. I have a pile of books here that I think are illegal and might get me in trouble. I got to do some research before I do that video. I don't want to get on a list if I'm not already on one, but I think there are some books that every prepper should have, and I'm going to do another video on that. So anyway, this is Mike Tango Whiskey. I'm all clear.